in collaboration with Dr. Cook, she and I came up with a pretest. The historical fiction pretest has some quick instructions. What do you know about historical fiction? Use your prior knowledge and what you have learned this year to answer the following questions. Dr. Cook and her colleagues have gone through a few other genres as reminders and just reading short stories. While they have not specifically touched base on historical fiction, students have been introduced to that in the past. I ask for their name, the class period, which is 3, and their ELA teacher, Dr. Cook. I chose to set it up this way on the off chance that I am to repeat the lesson for another ELA teacher. I thought it might be easier to have everything ready to go. Questions such as, how would you describe the characteristics of a historical fiction text? Characteristics are, I'm trying to get the idea of them to describe words, details, and pull from that prior knowledge. I'm hoping that they were able to associate that historical's root word is history and fiction, of course, being imaginary. One of the most important things to do before writing a historical fiction text, characters of a text are, settings of a text are, of course, wanting to guide them in the area of it came from a real time and real place, but most of the other characteristics are imaginary and or made up by our author. The 3 things that you would not see in a historical fiction text, and then an example of a text. Many of them have read them, whether they remember them or not. So this is me really seeing prior knowledge and if they're paying attention. This second part of the lesson consisted of a scavenger hunt. So using the online catalog database, answer the following questions to the best of your ability. I made sure to put that in because I do understand that students are working both virtually and face-to-face, that not everyone can be next to an adult, and that some are nervous to ask questions. So I feel like when you add in that little tidbit and they know that they're trying their hardest, it works out in the end. It does ask for the title of the book, the author, if there are multiple authors, and the call number. They will receive 10 minutes. So again, their name, class period, and ELA teacher. A text on war, a text on the Holocaust. Rainbow Rowell, a text written by them. Abraham Lincoln, an epidemic, and just a fun bonus if they can find one specifically on Cleopatra. This will allow them to navigate through the OPAC system, Destiny Discover, and really find a historical fiction book that matches all of these subjects. So last but not least is our post-test to determine what they absorbed, what they remembered from prior knowledge, and so forth and so on. So we have a which of the following are characteristics of a historical fiction text, and this is a select all that apply. While I didn't make it super obvious, there are a few in there that are very, very obvious. Characters and settings, that was originally on the pretest, and at least we should be able to see a little bit of progression and understanding of those characters and settings and the characteristics. Which setting would not work in a historical fiction text? And this one is, I think, going to be one of the ones that throws them off, simply because last weekend someone might want to argue that, yes, that was history, that was in the past. We have what time period details would you expect to encounter if you were in ancient Rome? And then, of course, the optional question about what you would want some extra information on historical text-wise for me to pull for you. So Dr. Cook and I originally talked about doing a research project, and we would have given a group of kids one character from Refugee and matched it to a couple of books or time frames that we would have provided to put on the desk. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, sharing books and all of those materials just wasn't an option. But we did go ahead and create this together so that we could possibly use it in the future. So we have Joseph from Germany, and this was World War II during the Nazi takeover. We have Isabel from Cuba, and this was when there was some civil unrest going on and they were trying to flee. And we have Mahmoud from Syria in the 2015 area. So the character, they could either choose it or be assigned one, and they would go through the following questions. So what real life person are you researching? So for example, if we had a group that was Joseph from Germany, they could choose to simply Google important people during World War II Nazi Germany and say Adolf Hitler came up. So what real life person are you researching? Adolf Hitler. And then the book. So they would go back to that OPAC system and they would find one specifically. And that's when I would have had them actually go to the shelves, find the book, or be able to have it ready to go on the table for them. Some details you can tell me about the book. So year it was published, number of pages. While all of this is available on the OPAC, it's a lot more fun, I think, for kids to be able to rummage through the book. What information did you find on that time frame that your real life individual lived in? And this is just information in general. So it may actually match up to what was in the historical fiction text. It's this next one. How did the information in Refugee differ from what you found in your research? What I'm trying to get them at is because they are on a 7th grade level, they tend to not go into as much detail. Some of the gory stuff isn't put in there. So Refugee, yes, while it touches base on World War II and Nazi Germany, there's not nearly the same amount of information that you would find in a nonfiction text. And then last but not least, how did the author add in details from history to help give the reader a better picture of the past? And that is to help them bring out that knowledge of how the author researched this material before writing the text.